Hi guys, Maikeru here. This is my Shadow Reef Trio and Mechanics quick guide. This will just be a quick guide on all of the different bosses in Elite Dungeons 3, their mechanics and how to avoid them. I will also have a loot video to ED3 coming out in the next couple of days, so let's get right into it. Just quickly showing a couple of setups that I use personally. When it comes to magic, range and melee, my setups are on screen. It's really personal preference what you use, but you want to take like your best type of gear. Cinderbanes work here, so they're very useful. For range, I prefer Nightmare Gauntlets because moving with Snipe and other abilities and everything is really crucial here. I also take Chins as range for all of the trash mobs, and then obviously I'll just take like my normal main hand Ascension or Serengobbo or whatever for the bosses themselves. When it comes to the ring slot, Ring of Death is what I chose because when learning you probably will die and it makes your death cost so much cheaper. Once you've learned the bosses and everything, obviously Asylum Surgeon's Ring is going to be better. When it comes to your armor and stuff, you want tier 18 or 90 or 92 even. And you want to perk it out with things like Enhanced Devoted, Impatient, Crackling, Biting, the typical stuff. When it comes to your familiar, I definitely would say take a pack yak while learning because you'll chomp quite a lot of food. Once you're not using too much food and you don't really need your yak, switching to a Titan for extra damage is really nice too. When it comes to your inventory setups, you just want your typical stuff. So obviously you want your overload, you want your replenishment. Then you want to take some super restores, some brews, some food, and all your switches. Things like Enhanced Excalibur, Planted Feet, things like that, if you have them, are so helpful. That's it for my setup. It was just a quick showcase of just showing you the typical setup that I use. Now let's get into the actual mechanics of the bosses. It is very useful to get the quest Curse of the Blackstone completed. This does require you to either do story mode or normal mode of the Shadow Reef once. You can complete it on story mode during the quest as well if needs be. This gives you a 10% damage reduction to all of the elite dungeons. That goes elite dungeons 1, 2 and 3, and that's so helpful. When it comes to the Kraken, you want to stand pretty much in melee distance the whole time, but you don't want to stand directly in front of the Kraken. The Kraken does a very deadly poison spit attack that goes straight in front. So you want to stand off to the side in melee distance, because if you stand anywhere in the middle of the platform, you get stunned and poisoned and all of that. So you want to stand close to it, but not directly in front of it. You can soul split this boss and just DPS it down, and there's a couple of mechanics you want to watch out for. The first mechanic is the one I said, where he does poison spit. Do not stand in front of him, otherwise all of this poison spit is going to take you for 7Ks or more, and that really hurts. The other one is when he slams his head down onto the platform. As you can see, he slammed his head down on my friend and he barely survived. It is very painful if this happens. To avoid this head slam, you want to watch what direction he's about to slam his head down into, what direction he's looking at. So here he's looking at the right side, which means he's going to slam on the right side and drag it all the way to the left. You need to hug as close as possible to him on the left side. It needs to be one of the furthest left squares hugging the boss. As you can see where we're all standing, we're not getting hit. He then does it the same but the opposite direction, so you need to do the same on the right side. He'll then slam his head down starting on the left side going to the right. So run to the right side as close to the boss as possible again and you won't get hit. You get hit constant 4Ks if you're standing anywhere but the safe area, and that really does hurt. The last mechanic is one that might not even happen to you if you have good DPS. If you DPS him fast enough, he'll never switch sides. But he can switch sides, and if he does, you want to surge through the middle so you don't get stun locked in the poison. And his head will pop out on the other side. Again, stand off to one of the sides as close as possible and DPS him down. The second boss is the most straightforward of the three in a trio because you can pretty much just nuke it, tank and spank, and there you go. But there's a couple of mechanics to the boss fight. He'll use magic attacks at the start, but you can pretty much soul split because he has very bad accuracy. It's only when he starts doing range attacks that you probably want to protect from range because his accuracy gets a lot better. Also, if you're taking a lot of skeletons, protecting range is also beneficial against those. And you know if he's using range if he puts down a Death Swiftness. If he puts down a Death Swiftness underneath of him, that means he's definitely going to be using range and you can preemptively pray range as he attacks. although they've both got different animations, so you can see what combat style he's using either way. He would typically switch to range in the last phase after summoning the second zombie whenever I've been doing it recently, so I'm not sure whether the switching styles is a time-gated thing or whatever, but if you do just see him change his animation or put down a death swiftness, just pray range instead of mage or soul split. Only additional thing I want to note is Salve Amulet works here because he is an undead. You just DPS him down, and if he spawns a portal, you need to kill this portal. But in a trio, because you have a lot of damage, you want to DPS him down until he gets phased. Once he's phased, he'll fly and take only ones. This is the time where you focus on the portal. You want to kill this portal as it's summoning zombies, and if you don't kill all of the zombies in the portal, the boss will get a big heal. So do make sure you kill these. And you save a lot of time killing the portal while the boss is unattackable. The boss will then spawn a really big zombie dude. In trio, you don't have to worry about this zombie dude. You can just tank him. One of you will get hit by him, but he hits up to maybe like 1.5k melee hits. It's really minimal. But the big zombie's pretty inaccurate as well, so he'll only hit you like half the time. Once the boss flies back, you want to nuke him down again until he gets his second phase. When the boss summons the zombie, he does get uber healed as well, so he'll go back up to 300k. When you get him down to 200k again, same thing will happen. He'll fly off. You can just DPS the big guy for some adrenaline and to keep your life up and whatever, while you're waiting for him to come back. He'll uber heal, summon another big zombie, and now you have two big zombies to tank. If one person tanks one and the other person tanks the other, it's completely fine. You can also kite the big zombies, and that works too. So if you do see yourself taking too much damage from the zombies, feel free to kite them around, move around, and you'll be completely fine. As you can see, you switched to range now with that greeny attack. This means you want to protect from range because he's pretty accurate with the range attack and it'll hit you pretty much every time. From this point onwards, once both big guys are spawned and you're tanking them or kiting them, DPS him as fast as you can, and you need to kill him before you get overrun with zombies. If you do see yourself getting too many zombies spawn, you can always chuck a corruption blast or a corruption shot or whatever style you're using onto one of the zombies. It will spread and probably kill most of them. Another thing to watch out for is the ghost wall. The ghost wall is the only added mechanic in the last phase, and that's just this wall of ghosts. It spawns and goes the direction they're facing. Do not stand in those, otherwise you will die. Just like my poor teammate here, he tried to out-eat it, but he really couldn't. The ghost wall deals a lot of damage, and it will kill you if you don't move out of it or surge away. Then, like I said, the rest of the fight, just kite the big guys, DPS the boss down, and there you go. You have your kill. Easy peasy. Pretty much a tank and spank fight. Very smooth, very easy to do. Although if you are struggling with doing enough damage and you're getting overrun or whatever, you can kill the big monsters as they spawn, if you would rather do that. It's completely up to you. I found the easiest way to do this boss is just to nuke through it. It's by far the easiest, and it's not even bad on your food or anything like that. It's useful to fight every boss with forward drain at the start, but the ambassador is the most important to have forward drain going into. You want to put your ult down, do as much damage as you can, pray, protect from range, all of that, and you want to nuke it down at the start. Although there are a couple of mechanics you need to know for the first phase. The first one is these black holes. You get one spawn per person, and you want to stun the black hole to make it disappear. If you do not stun a black hole in time, it makes it so you take pretty much an instant 8k after it despawns, and that will kill a lot of people, so make sure you stun these to get rid of them. So if your magic, impact, deep impact, or range, binding, shot type bindings, things like that. Then another mechanic is the purple smoke. You get an extra action bar, and it works the same way as Elite Dungeons 1, although it has a little bit where you can move around and it will trail you for a second or two. So it's best when you're planting this smoke to stand still, then move out of it. Because if you move while planting it, it will make a bigger mess. Obviously, you can tell you have the purple smoke with the extra action bar and giant purple smoke around you. You want to put that around the edge of the arena. At 650k, the ambassador will phase. It will phase at a higher HP than this if you don't DPS hard enough, but if you DPS him down to 650k, it will automatically do the next phase. And that's where laser beams spawn. He spawns 6 of these shards around the arena. You want to stand behind him at the start, which means no one will get hit by the beam. The beam goes anti-clockwise, so you need to move with it. This is why I love Nightmare Gauntlets and things like that. It is so nice to cast while moving. You can soul split this phase and you want to kill each fragment. You want to DPS down the fragments as fast as possible. If you're magic, you can metamorphosis. If you're ranged, just use every single one of your thresholds. Even things like tendrils on these is super helpful. You just DPS them as you go around. As you can see what we're doing, we're just DPSing them, using all of our thresholds on each one, and whenever we have cooldowns up, we'll use them. Then the last one that we had, we didn't DPS hard enough and it got absorbed by the Ambassador. Every one that gets absorbed by the Ambassador means you're going to take an 8k to the face. He will power up the attack and he'll do a range hit into the 8k. This is per fragment absorbed, and they'll be back to back if multiple are absorbed. What you can do is you can reflect, and that'll make it hit 4k. But something that's even better than reflect, but kind of risky, is resonance in it. You can't just flat out resonance because there's a range hit coming just before it. You need to wait for that range hit. As soon as that range hit hits you, resonance and the hit for the 8k will come directly after. What I would say to do is I would reflect just as a foul safe. So even if you miss your resonance, you're only going to get hit for a 4.5k. It's so much nicer. Another mechanic that he does throughout the whole fight is this big circle blue orb. If he throws one of those at you, it's a magical attack. If you don't have resonance up, which I didn't here, you want to pray mage. If you do have resonance up, you can keep praying range and resonance for a good 4.5k heal. Then you just DPS him down, try and get him as low as possible while still doing the mechanics like fire and stunning the portals and praying mage whenever the big ball comes on you or resonance in it, etc, etc. He will then spawn Crashians. He'll spawn more and more and more depending on how quickly you DPS him down. So if you're slow at DPSing, you'll get a fair few spawns of Crashians. If you're good at DPSing, you'll only get like one spawn. Seiryu also comes along and heals you whenever he does that giant puff of purple smoke. Later on at about 300k HP, he does a giant fire breath. That kills all of the Crashians that have spawned. This will then also trigger the last phase where loads of hands spawn. When all of the hands spawn, it will heal the Ambassador a little bit of HP. Then you just DPS to your heart's content. This is a DPS race fight. There's only 3 mechanics in this phase. One we already know, which is the magic hit, which you have to protect from magic from. And then there's 2 new ones. One is the puffs of white clouds. You get 1 spawning per person. If you're standing near one, you can stand in it to stop Ambassador healing. If you don't stand in it, Ambassador will take 2.5k heals per white cloud. If you block it, it doesn't take those heals. The only other thing in this phase is it will say someone's name and it will say something crazy like fall now and be forgotten. You know, it's just the Ambassador being edgy. If that happens, whoever's name he calls, he's going to do a bombardment of magical attacks which hurt for 8Ks constantly. Easiest way to avoid this? Pray Mage and Devotion. Then they'll always hit ones and you won't die. That's the easiest way to avoid it and the safest way. You can get a cheeky resonance on the first hit, but it's very risky. So I definitely would say just go for the Protect from Mage and the Devotion, just to be safe so you don't die. Then continue nuking the Ambassador and it is literally your kill, done, dusted, ED3 complete. Thanks for watching, hope you did enjoy this guide on ED3. It was just the basics of every single boss and their mechanics, talking about it in like a quick format. Do give the video a like if you did enjoy it and maybe learn something new. Good luck if you do try ED3. Do let me know in the comments down below how it's been going, if you've tried it and stuff like that. I will be making a loot video on Shadow Reef soon, and until next time, see ya.